Welcome, everybody. My name is Leah, and I'm the program manager at VegFund. And I'm joined today by my esteemed colleague, Mikki Wilburn, who is our program officer and helps me out with lots of different things, but also reviews the bulk of our grants and talks to many of you grantees out there. So today is one of our Ask Me Anything sessions. We've found that these are really useful for folks who are interested in getting funding from VegFund, interested in learning more about how to get funding and what kind of grants we fund. So this is a great opportunity if you're new to VegFund and are interested in getting a grant to ask us some questions. Or if you have any other questions about VegFund and what we do, feel free to ask them here. Again, I'm Leah, and that's Mikki.
Hi.
So yeah, briefly, I'll just touch on what we do. VegFund gives grants for lots of different types of vegan outreach. And so that encompasses community outreach, like street outreach, paid per view, film screenings, veg fests, offering food samples. We also fund different types of learning events like panel discussions, lots of learning tools, like maybe you developed a humane education curriculum or something. And then different other types of innovative outreach, such as vegan restaurant weeks, challenges, pledges, things like that. So happy to discuss that in more detail. We also have a ton of other resources on our website. We have a blog. We have lots of AMAs and webinars like this one and activist stories that I would definitely encourage you to check out. During the session, please feel free to make comments to ask us questions. We are live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So anywhere that you comment, we will see your questions. If you can't get them in through there, you can always send us a message over Messenger on Facebook. You can tag us at VegFund on any platform, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And then if you want to tweet about us or mention us, you can use this hashtag VegFundAMA. And I think those are all of my slides. So I will close that out and stop sharing. Cool. Thanks for bearing with us. We're in the midst of our annual planning, and so it's always a little tough to switch gears into being on camera, but that's why we're here, and we're happy to do so. So Mikki, I've done a lot of talking. Do you want to introduce yourself and talk about what you do?
Sure. So like Leah mentioned, I'm the program officer here at VegFund. So I review all of the community event applications. So those are the types of events that are a little more discrete. So they take place over a certain date range or a day or multiple days. And like she said, a lot of things like film screenings and veg fests and food samplings and paid per views. But really just any event that has a very discrete date range. And then in addition to that, I also do a lot of data reporting and analysis for VegFund, and that can be anywhere from monthly to annual reporting. And then I also have been administering the Food for Life program. So we have been trying to really build up our portfolio of health advocacy. And so one way we're doing that is trying to really promote a lot of outreach pertaining to whole foods, plant-based diets. So we've been working with PCRM closely, and I have been administering that program.
Yes, indeed. And that's been one of many exciting developments we've had this year. Just growing our outreach and reaching all kinds of new grantees. And as Mikki said, she does a lot of data reporting. And while we're here, I want to show you some of our recent numbers that we've just gathered on our lifetime data as a grant-making organization. So all this data comes from all of the grants that we receive, all the grant applications and the grants that we make. So since 2009, we've funded 8,237 different vegan outreach events worldwide. And those events have been organized by at least 2,477 grantees. It could be more. As you can imagine, an organization has data issues over the years, but we're certain that it's at least 2,477, could be more. And we've awarded almost $15,682,198 in grants, which is so exciting. It's really a testament to just the amount of work that you all as activists are doing, that we're able to fund that much and that many projects. One of our flagship programs, as Mikki mentioned, is food sampling. And we know that we've handed out, or that our grantees rather, have handed out 1,381,849 vegan food samples, which is staggering. And we funded projects in 78 countries. And so I see that Joshua from the Democratic Republic of Congo has commented where he's from. So if you're in the chat and you want to say hello and mention where you're from and where you're based right now, that would be great. I'm here in Washington, D.C. in the U.S., and Mikki is in Madison, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't know, VegFund is a completely remote organization, and we're all based all over. Our other great colleague, Patrick, is here in the background helping make sure this goes smoothly, and he's based in Portland, Maine. So please feel free to mention where you're from. And the last thing I want to mention, and this is such an exciting statistic, is that over 77 million people have been reached through VegFund funded activities. And to be honest, that could be an underestimate. I mean, the number of different types of projects that we fund run the gamut. And so if you've been touched by vegan outreach in your lifetime, since 2009 anyway, chances are a VegFund grantee might have helped organize that. So great. I see Karen is from London. Fantastic. So thank you all so much for being here and for allowing us to brag a little bit about how great our grantees are and all of this great data that Mikki has collected for us. Great. Well, so as I said, today is really an AMA, which means ask me anything. So we're going to just go through some of the questions that you all have asked and try to do our best to answer them. And if our responses raise even more questions, then please feel free to keep asking. So I'm going to start with some of these questions here from Trip Barthel. So this is a question we receive sometimes. Are you a broker or provider? Do you only make grants, or do you also provide direct services? Who can use the curriculum developed from your grants? So that's 3 different questions. The first one, we don't provide loans. We only provide grants. So we've had questions in the past from folks if we can provide a loan that can be repaid, and that's just not something that we're set up to do. We're a pretty small organization, and our mission is really to provide grants to charitable projects. So that's the answer to that question. Do we provide direct services? We do, in the sense that we provide educational services like this AMA and other webinars and resources that we produce. But we are primarily a grant-making foundation. And as far as the curriculum developed by our grantees, in many cases, that's up to the grantee. But for example, if we have somebody creating a learning tool, such as like a curriculum for humane education, we may require that be made available to other folks who want to use it for charitable purposes. So we have a really robust resource section that includes a lot of that information. It's searchable. You can always go on our website and look through our resources and see if there's something useful. And if you can't find what you're looking for, chances are we have it. It just might not be updated yet. So always feel free to reach out to grants@vegfund.org with any questions like that. Another question we have do you consider multiple proposals that might include a combined special project and a community event? That is a really good question. And in that case, we would definitely consider it. We would ask that you submit one application, and likely that would be a special projects application. For community events, do you want to talk, Mikki, about how you can use the community events application to apply for multiple different types of community events in one?
Sure. So when you're filling out a community events application, one of the first questions that you're going to see is one where you have to select the elements of your project, of your event. And so that's where you can go and you can say, I will be providing a film showing or food samples or a pay-per-view event or a veg fest or a conference or some other type of event that isn't captured by that list. And that is a select all that apply field. So you can host one event like a veg fest and screen a film and have food samples at the veg fest and have a pay-per-view booth. And you can do all of that in one single application just by selecting all of those elements. And then depending on which components you select, questions will come up in the application that are relevant to that. So we'll ask questions like, well, what film will you be showing, and what food will you be offering, and how many people are you expecting at the Veg Fest, and how many vendors? So within community events, you can certainly have one event that has multiple components to it.
And while we're talking about this, I'm just going to go ahead one more time and share my screen just so you all can see the website and see how to apply if you need to. So when you come to vegfund.org, I'm currently on our About page, but when you come to the normal website, if you click here on grants, you can see a lot of information about our grants. So our grants program overview will show you the 3 different program categories that we offer. And these are 3 separate applications. So to apply for, so by clicking Learn More, you can learn a lot more information about the programs, the sorts of eligible expenses and things. But once you're ready to apply, you can come up here to the top right and click Apply/Login. And that will take you to an external grant application site. You'll click Apply/Login to any of these, depending on the project that you're going to apply for. If you're submitting a community events application, which is, again, for a more discrete event or something with a set start and end date, generally no more than a week long, then you would click on the community events application. And here, this is taking you from this page to an external page where you can start your application. There is a great deal of information on how to apply on our website. And the best place that I can point you to is if you come to our resources and our guides, how to apply for vegan advocacy grants from VegFund is a great resource. It's a brief PDF that you can download and read, and it will answer almost any question you have about the application process. We know that filling out forms can be really tedious and difficult, especially when every organization has a different form that you need to fill out. But, you know, in order for us to know the impact of our work and collect the kind of data that we want to collect, we need to have you fill out these tedious forms sometimes. So we appreciate all of our grantees doing that. And this is a great resource to help you kind of understand how to start that process. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next question. So this is another question from Trip. Interested in multi-generational approaches? Absolutely. It's a discussion that we've been having at VegFund, is how to make sure we're reaching as many audiences as possible. And we're always interested in different ways that can be done. For example, I know of an organization in Switzerland that's working on reaching retirement homes, trying to do more education about plant-based nutrition there. We have a group in New York doing a similar kind of project. So definitely interested in lots of different multi-generational approaches. This is a great question. What are the timeframes for completion and reporting? Mikki, do you want to start and talk about for community events grants, what that looks like?
Yeah, so for community event grants, we ask that you try to submit your application at least 4 weeks in advance, because we are a very small team. And so it does sometimes take time to process applications. So you'll submit your application at least a month before your event happens. And then you'll get notification from us. Sometimes we'll ask for more information. And then if you're approved, you'll find out how much you're approved for, what your grant award is, and then you'll be given a due date, a report due date. And that is 30 days after the end of your event. So if your event is taking place today on December 15th, your report would be due a month from now, January 15th. And so you go off and you host this great advocacy event, and then you log back in and you submit your report within 1 month after your event took place. And then we will process your report. And for community events, payments are distributed as reimbursements. So they're expense reimbursement. So you'll be asked to submit photos of your event and specific information like how many people attended, and very importantly, receipts that you paid for expenses. So we'll look at those receipts and reimburse after your event takes place.
Yeah, so Mikki mentioned at least a month in advance. We definitely encourage folks to apply more than a month in advance, because it can take up to 4 weeks for grant review. So if finding out if funding is essential for you to carry out the event, finding out if you got funding is essential, then you should make sure that you have plenty of time, plenty of leeway before the event takes place, to find out whether or not you got a VegFund grant. So we definitely encourage folks to really plan ahead. Unfortunately, it's a great problem to have, but there's a really high demand for our grant funding. And so we really need to stick to those timeframes. And we also just have a lot of grants to review, and so it can take a while. So please submit your applications at least a month in advance. But that's for community events. So if you're taking on a kind of longer term project, maybe you're hosting an annual, a year-long pledge program that you'll be kind of doing periodically throughout the year, and you want to submit an application for that. Special projects applications are reviewed quarterly. And right now, the next application deadline is January 15th. So once you submit an application for a special project or an online campaign, which would just be kind of an online version of your advocacy, then it takes generally 8 weeks for review, and you'll receive a decision by then. And the reporting process will depend on your project. So you may be required to submit quarterly reports. It may be that you just need to submit one report, but the reporting requirements are the same, in that you will need to submit expense statements. If it's an in-person or virtual event where you can kind of take screenshots, we'd like to see photos. We really like to see photos, so that we can use them in our own communications, but also just to give us a sense of, okay, this event took place and this is kind of what it looked like. It helps our reviewers really get a sense. And special projects grants, because some of these projects are larger, they may be paid in installments. They may receive a payment upfront and then a payment halfway through. Again, those are really determined based on the nature of the project. So again, there's a really great resource, the How to Apply for Vegan Advocacy Grants from VegFund, and that can also explain all of that in great detail. Okay, so another question we have from Jennifer: do the dates of your event have to be set before the grant? I'm working with a venue that doesn't want to confirm the event until the grant is approved. Yeah, so that can be really tough. How have some grantees dealt with that in the past, Mikki? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, so usually even if the venue doesn't want to necessarily set it in stone, so to speak. We at least like to have some sort of idea. So maybe they say, okay, if you get this grant, we will tentatively schedule you for these days at our venue. So we do like to have some idea of when it would take place, but we also understand that sometimes things happen, especially during a global pandemic, and sometimes events do get rescheduled or pushed back or move forward. So we do try to accommodate when that happens, but really just trying to provide your best idea, your best guess. If it's possible to schedule it in advance and have the event date set, that's great. We love that. We love when all the details are already ironed out. In a case like this, we would say try to give your best guess. If they're willing to sort of tentatively hold your slot, then that would be good. And then if something happens and it gets moved, just let us know as soon as possible so that we can update your event information on our website, because we keep an event calendar for all of the events that we fund, and so that we can change your report due date.
Yeah, great. So in this case, I would just put the date of the event that you think, the date you think it will take place. And then obviously, as Mikki said, if it changes, that's something that you can reach out and let us know. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the event calendar. So can you talk a little bit more about that and how events are added to the event calendar?
Sure. So we, in our application, we ask for information like, when is your event taking place? What's the start date and end date? What time will it be taking place? So if it's a Veg Fest, what hours will it be open? Where is it taking place? So is it virtual or in person? And if it is in person, what are the venue? What's the venue name and address? And then we ask some other information, like, is there a ticket fee? So if people are coming to your Veg Fest or film screening, will they have to pay something to get into it? And then we ask for your logo, if you have one, and a description of the event, so that we, on our website, we have our event calendar, and we keep, we publish all of that information if you choose for us to do so, if you give us permission to do so. So these are all of the events that we fund. We do only include events that are through VegFund. So people on the internet can always come to this event calendar and look at the events that we have coming up and see where to go to get tasty vegan food samples or to watch a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great way to co-market your events as well. And obviously, as Mikki said, if you don't want your event listed in the calendar, then it's as simple as just not checking that box in the application. But we find that it's one of our most popular pages on our website. I think a lot of people come here to find events. And I also know that vegevents.com uses, they source a lot of their events from our event page as well. So it's a really great way to really broaden your audience if it's something that you're interested in doing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm behind and looking at comments. Sorry, looks like I froze. Trying to come back. Oh. Oh, are we there? Sorry, I think I froze. Hopefully I'm back now. Sorry about that.
So it looks like we've got a few people coming in and saying hello from various places. So we've already seen Joshua from the DRC, Karen from London. We have Kay from New York City. And we do have a question. Let me pull this up. What do you think are the most effective forms of vegan outreach today? And what about the most cost-effective methods?
That's a great question. So something that we learned through a recent study from Faunalytics actually is that most people who go vegan have had at least a dozen different touches throughout their journey. And when I say touch, that means some kind of information that they've received about veganism or about a plant-based diet that has informed their decision to eventually go vegan. And so that's one reason that we fund a really broad variety of projects. Anything from, a really in-person but potentially quick exchange at a public event where you're handed a vegan food sample that you might find really surprisingly delicious, to something more engaged, like a 30-day mentored campaign that's really, you have a mentor and you're really working together, and it's a lot higher touch. So it's really tough to say what the most effective forms of vegan outreach are, other than to say we do know that types of outreach that tend to shame people into going vegan don't tend to work. Projects that are really inclusive, that really meet people where they are much more effective. We also learned recently from Faunalytics, who did a study of vegan retention, that focusing on multiple aspects of veganism, so including details about animal welfare and animal rights, as well as human health and climate change, can be really effective. And trying to get people motivated from their internal needs, so what motivates them internally versus how they're perceived externally, can be a lot more effective. So yeah, we can't say necessarily one form of outreach is more effective than another, because we're only seeing somebody at one point in their vegan journey. We do obviously work on evaluation, and we do have folks who are really trying to understand the impact of their project by asking maybe 30 days out, are you still trying a vegan diet after doing this 30-day challenge? But that is a tough question to answer, and I'm afraid I don't have that answer. Anything you want to add, Mikki?
No, I think you summed it up well. It would be difficult to find one form of activism for any subject that works for everybody, because everybody has different means are going to reach out to different people. So yeah, I think maintaining variety is really the way to go.
Yeah, which is not to say that you as an activist need to be well versed in many different types of activism. I think, as with anything, if you are really passionate and well informed about climate change, and you want to talk about the effects of animal agriculture on rainforests in Brazil, for example, like that's something that you can hone that approach and come up with ways to really target an audience that you think will be receptive to that message. I mean, so much of really so much of being an effective activist is really carrying out quality events, trying to be well organized, doing really great marketing, trying to really understand your target audience. These we find to be some of the most important aspects of really good activism. And as far as cost effectiveness, again, I don't want to necessarily say one's better than the other, because while, for example, a film screening might be more expensive per person reached than, say, an online vegan pledge like Challenge 22, we know that a film screening might have a different type of impact. Somebody who goes to a film has taken time out of their day, at least an hour, usually more, to sit and watch something and take it in. And so that impact it might be different than, sort of seeing a video online or something, even though the cost might be less per person reached. The impact is going to be different. And we truly believe that all of these things are necessary and important to help people along their vegan journey.
Thanks, Leah.
Yeah, thanks for coming over while I.
Yeah, so we do have another question. Would you provide funding for vegan advertisement placements such as billboards, newspaper ads, bus stand posters, etc.?
The brief answer is yes. We do fund those types of projects, and you should submit a special projects application if that's what you're interested in doing. That said, we know a lot of folks use that type of advertisement for events that they're holding. So if having a newspaper ad or a billboard ad is part of your planning for a film screening, then you would incorporate that into your marketing budget and report that to us in your application using a community events application. But with just like a billboard saying "Go vegan" or "Be fair, be vegan" is a great campaign that we've supported that does billboard campaigns. One of the things we ask activists to really think about is how are you going to evaluate the impact, and that can be really tough. But one way that we've found can be useful is using a QR code, and then maybe folks who have seen the billboard, you can measure how many people took an action as a result of seeing the billboard. You can also sometimes get good demographic data from billboard companies on how many people see their billboards and what are the impacts of certain messaging. But the short answer is yes, we do fund those types of projects.
All right, we have Morgan from Poland joining us. And we also have a question from Karen. Do organizations need to be registered or official charities to receive funding? So we do provide funding to a variety of organization types and individuals. So when you first join and submit your first application for a grant, the first thing you'll have to do is fill out an applicant profile. And in that, we'll ask for your contact information, your name, some details about you, some logistics. And one thing that we'll ask is, are you applying on behalf of an organization or are you applying as an individual? If you are applying as an organization, then you'll see a drop-down list come up that will let you select what type of organization. So are you a US 501c3 that's registered? Are you a non-US charity organization? Are you a for-profit business? And we have a lot of options. So you do not have to be a registered charity to receive funding. We ask that if you do have some sort of registration or official status, that you do provide documentation for that. And if you do not have an official status as an organization, then we would ask that you apply as an individual in the meantime.
Great.
All right. We also have a question here. 5-minute videos can be a very good tool for reaching many people and keeping people's attention. Are you open to funding small nonprofits on projects to create short videos for vegan outreach?
Yeah, this is a really great question, Lizette, and it's one that's become even more relevant during the pandemic because we've seen a lot of folks shift to producing online content and short videos in lieu of doing in-person events and veg fests or whatever. But the first thing I'll say is that there is a ton of content out there right now. And before you decide to create your own video, which is expensive and takes a lot of work to do well, to look and see what's out there already. We maintain a list on our website of short videos that we recommend, but we know I don't think it's been updated in the last year, and it's a project that we're actually working on currently. And so I would encourage you to take a look at YouTube and look at some of your favorite vegan organizations or environmental organizations to see if you can find the type of video that you would want to show. But if you think that what you want to offer is particularly unique, there's no such video like it that you can find, or you think that you have a new angle that you want to present, then we do accept applications for content. We will fund typically up to $5,000 for new content production. and up to $5,000 for content distribution. But again, because we receive so many applications for this type of project, it's very competitive. So do make your case that it's something that's unique, that fills a niche that has not yet been filled, and that can reach a new audience that will really be impacted by your video. And while we're at about the halfway mark, I just want to invite you all, if you're finding this useful and finding this helpful, to please like the video, share the video if you can. And if you haven't already followed VegFund on any of these sources, to please do so, because we do share a lot of content on our social media channels as well. Okay. So this question from Brielle: is it okay to include payment for hours of staff time dedicated to a project included in the budget of requested funds? So yes, you can include those types of staff hours, provided that they're directly related to the outreach program or project that you're doing. We also, we'll fund up to a certain amount for core costs such as staff time. We typically don't pay activists themselves for staff time, but if you're outsourcing for content creation or marketing or something like that, then we will consider personnel costs in those cases. And just to say, one of the reasons that we can't pay activists for their time is because then those expenses become taxable. And we, as a grant-making organization and as a nonprofit, we don't want to be giving taxable income to activists. And so that's why we really are strictly funding project-related expenses. Okay, let's see this question here. Whoop. Mikki and I are clicking.
Okay, so can you host events for the community that has nothing or no attachment to a business? It would be more a community offering of a movie screening or an in-person talk. Absolutely. We love to reach communities. It does not have to be through an organization. It doesn't have to be related to a business of any sort. In fact, when we do fund things like film screenings, we actually really suggest going to some sort of public, open to the community venue so that we can really increase the number of people who can see it. So hosting a film screening at, say, a public library that's accessible to everyone. We really enjoy seeing events like that, and having people come and do in-person talks, or doing food samplings just out on the street, on a sidewalk somewhere. Yes, absolutely. The event does not have to be attached to a business.
Great. So this question from Joshua: is it possible to submit another request for a special grant after receiving it, as a region where we are the first to speak and educate the community on vegan lifestyle? And the education project must continue in order to be reassured that the message is being followed. So yeah, Joshua is a current grantee of ours, and we definitely encourage folks to be repeat grantees and to submit another application. Sometimes when folks submit their first application, they may not receive as much as they requested at the very beginning. But that's because our funds are limited, and also for new grantees, sometimes we can't provide as large an amount as is requested. But we definitely encourage folks to submit second and third applications. And there's no limit at this time for the number of applications that can be submitted. So thanks for your question. And a related question: can you submit multiple grant requests at once for different project ideas? Yes, you certainly can. And we have plenty of grantees who do so. We encourage you to make the case why each project is relevant and necessary for your vegan outreach. But definitely there's no, as I said, there's no limit at this time for the number of applications that can be submitted at one time or in a given period. And just want to share this. My colleague Pat mentioned, here's the grant application guide. So this is in the comments. You should be able to find the link and copy and paste it if need be. But as I said, this is a really great resource for learning how to submit an application successfully. Let's see. So this is a comment from Morgan in Poland. As the Green Rev Institute, we see great potential in film activities, projects about veganism that set and strengthen advocacy efforts. So perhaps this is related to the question about what's most effective. But yeah, film activities, it's something that if you see surveys of people who have gone vegan, when they comment how they decided to go vegan, films come up all the time. People have seen a film, and I personally was very motivated to go vegan by seeing the film Vegucated many, many years ago. And yeah, I think that films are a very, very important tool. And we're lucky now that there are so many more films out there to screen. And in fact, that's yet another resource we have. We have a great list of recommended films on our website that we encourage people to screen. And looks like we have, I'm sorry about that. Looks like we have another question about screenings. Do you want to take this one, Mikki?
Sure. So does it make sense to have a screening online when people can do that on their own without our advocacy versus a live or in-person vegan movie screening? So we actually, with the pandemic that has been going on for almost 2 years now, we have seen a lot of people switch to doing like a stream of film screenings. So they are doing online screenings. And they have found that it can still be effective because it does offer some structure to somebody watching it. So by actually having an online event where there's a specific date and time where people show up to watch a movie together, they might be more likely to watch it than if they're just sitting alone in their living room on their couch. Are they actually going to turn on Dominion versus going and signing up for an event to watch it with other people? And there can also be other components to online screenings that do include advocacy that they can't get access to alone, at home alone. So for example, a lot of these online screenings will also have a Q&A that takes place afterwards, or if they reach out to the director or the filmmaker beforehand, sometimes they're able to get them to join for a Q&A. So that really adds a lot of value to the film screening when the director themselves or a well-informed activist stays around after the movie is over to answer questions and to talk about veganism and next steps. And it can really add an extra dimension to the online screening.
Now we've seen a lot of online screenings this year, haven't we?
Yes, yeah. We it's been very impressive to see how great our activists have been at adapting to what happened globally.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
Yes, it has been remarkable, really, really and truly. While we definitely saw, a bit of a lull around March and the spring of 2020, activists came right back with ideas for ways to do their outreach, just in spite of the pandemic. And in some ways, it's opened up opportunities like doing online screenings where maybe someone can reach somebody that they might not have been able to before.
Yeah.
So this question here, I just want to point this out. Where can I submit a question? If that's for the AMA, you can just post it in the comments. It looks like you're on Facebook, Jane. But if it's a question for VegFund, just generally, you can always email grants@vegfund.org. Just sounds just like it's spelled, GRANTS at vegfund.org. And your question will likely be responded to by the right person within a day or two. Okay, so from Trip, are you interested in programs that have a veg component, such as exercise projects, yoga, meditation? So yes, we definitely will fund portions of such events. If the event is really specifically focused on yoga and maybe just has a veg component, such as food sampling, then we would really only fund the food samples. It sort of depends. And so you would need to kind of explain your project in the application. But definitely the focus of our funding for any type of project would really be on the vegan outreach aspects. So if it's marketing, then we would need to make sure that the event itself that was being marketed really has a vegan education component. But maybe if it's not, then there could be aspects of the project, as you say, like food samples or leaflets or literature that could be useful for that sort of project. Okay, another good question. What % of applications do you approve? Well, this has changed somewhat recently as we've seen a really large uptick in the number of applications that we've received and the amounts of funds that are being requested. But traditionally, we're approving 80 to 90% of the applications that we receive. Our goal is to spend the money that we have on activism, and we do want to fund, even if we can't fully fund a project, then we'll try to provide a portion of the funding. So yeah, it's a pretty high percentage that we approve. I don't have this year's numbers yet, but I will soon. And okay, I think we got to the end of all the questions. So please do send us others if you have other questions. Yeah, just making sure. Great. Well, I want to thank you all for dealing with my own technical difficulties today. Oh, here we go. Let's see. We have a great question. What would get a project not funded? So I think making sure that the project meets our guidelines. Okay, a great example would be an event held in a private home or something that's not really open to the public, or an event that charges a really high entrance fee. We really want to make sure that projects are accessible to the public. We recommend no more than $5 to $10 entrance fee. Obviously, we recommend a free entrance fee if that's possible. Let's see. If it's clear that your project is earning income, or maybe is a fundraiser, then those projects we don't really fund. Because we've received so many applications, we really need to reserve our funds for those who are truly in need of funding. And unfortunately, we don't fund fundraising activities.
And it's also very helpful in your application to provide as much detail as possible, because sometimes it's a lot easier for us to understand what the event and what the project is and to get a full understanding of the scope of it if you provide a lot of detail. So the more effort you put into your application and the more information, like if you're submitting an application for a Veg Fest, include the entire budget, not just what you're requesting. We want to know all of the other sources of income and all of the expenses. We really want to understand the full picture of your event. So really providing as much detail as you can is helpful as well.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're proposing a pretty big project and you don't demonstrate a very clear marketing plan, or a way to get, like, let's say you do have a video that you want to produce, but you don't demonstrate a way that you're going to get your video out there beyond a vegan audience, then that might be something that we wouldn't fund, or that we might send back and say, please revise. We do often send applications back with additional questions because we do want to encourage, we want to know as much as possible, and we want to do our best to encourage folks to submit good applications. So yeah, I think I would just echo what Mikki said, to really provide as much detail as possible, and to spend as much time as you can doing legwork to understand what it is that your project will need in order to be successful. This question: would creating an online platform like a blog or a website be considered under special projects? So yes. However, if you're creating an organizational website or redeveloping your organization's website, that would not be eligible for VegFund support. That would be considered really a core cost of the organization. However, if there's a component, maybe you want to start a vegan pledge or a mentored campaign, and you want to put that on your website, then we might be able to support the development of that. Or if there's content on your website that you want to promote, we might be able to provide funding to promote the event, or the content through social media ads or other digital marketing. So I hope that's helpful. But if it's just developing a new website that's just kind of a general informational website, that's not something that we typically fund. And one of our last questions here: will this video stay on YouTube? Yes, this video will be available on YouTube. It will be available on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and I believe on our website as well. We make all of our videos available for free. And as I said, please do like and share this video if you can, because we know not everybody can attend, and we really hope that it was helpful to folks. I just want to show this comment here. So Kay says, I would charge a fee to weed out people who are not serious, but $10 is fine in New York for a movie or a sample. Yeah, and I think that's a really great point. Sometimes having people put a little skin in the game, they might make it so that they are actually willing to attend the event. Well, I already spent $5 or $10 on this event, so I'm definitely going to go. And we definitely understand that, which is why we don't have a blanket statement saying no fee. But yes, I think that's a great point, and can definitely help actually encourage people to actually attend your event. Great. Anything else you'd like to add, Mikki? Or?
I don't think so. We had a lot of good questions today, and it's always so exciting to get to chat with you guys live and interact with our grantees and by the looks of it, soon to be grantees. So yeah, it's always so nice to have this opportunity to meet and chat and just hang out for a little bit.
Yes, definitely. And hoping that we can do that in person someday soon. It's really a goal of ours to do, a tour of our grantees at some point, or, get Mikki out there on the road going to Veg Fests. We would love to do that soon, and we hope that we can.
Yes.
But so thank you so much for taking the time with us today to learn more about VegFund. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. All of our contact information is on the website. And as I said, emailing grants@vegfund.org is a great way to get your question answered quickly. But definitely encourage you, as I've said so many times, to look at our website, because we've spent a lot of time putting good information on there that we think will be helpful. And it's helpful to us. It provides us more time to actually get funding out the door to help save more animals. If you, as grantees, can take the time and look on the website and try to get a sense for what it is that your question is, and try to get that answered. And if you can't get it answered, we understand, and then please do reach out to us. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And we hope that you have a great rest of your day. And, if we don't see you till then, happy 2021 and enjoy the new year, 2022. We look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.